Hello and welcome back to the Pitch Side podcast. I am your host HOD. Over the PSP, like, share, and subscribe to the YouTube channel. Enable notifications to receive all the updates from these episodes of the podcast, which you can listen to on Spotify, Google Podcasts, or any other platform, and all the content on the channel here. Follow us on social media. I'm at PSP on Twitter, Pitch Side Pod on Instagram, and join us always for our show, episode 132. You're welcome. Let's crack on by speaking about the Premier League. Of course, two games took place yesterday. It was Tottenham versus Southampton and Aston Villa versus Manchester City. Similar scenarios really from both matches. I think the difference is that in the Aston Villa Man City game, there was two red cards for each side. Of course, one from City for John Stones, and Aston Villa's, of course, for Matty Cash. I think it was a pretty big event, of course, in that game. It was a nervy game for Man City, by the way. The start was pretty rough. The goal from the early goings, from the first minute of the game, literally from the kickoff, 19 seconds in, John McGinn makes it 1-0 for Aston Villa. I was all nervous from there. For Man City, it was a rough start, and then things got going for them a little bit. After a while, Phil Foden equalises. Beautiful finish thanks to an assist from Bernardo Silva, and Bernardo Silva was back at it again with an assist for Rodri, who scored the second goal inside 40 minutes and made it 2-1 for Manchester City. It was quite a rough night for Man City. It was not the normal performance. They left a little bit of a door open for Aston Villa at certain points. But I think after the red card for Matty Cash, they took proper control of the game and they saw the game out. I mean, it wasn't exactly the greatest performance from Man City, but they saw the game out. They managed to pull through. And, obviously the problem is not in the league. They're going to be winning the league. That is absolutely certain. 11 points at the moment ahead of Man United before the rest of the games, of course, on the day. And then you're going to be having, of course, the Champions League semi-final. That is where the problems might appear. This is where City are going to be planning ahead, because this game is not going to matter in the grand scheme of things. It's about the Champions League. Is Man City having problems at the wrong time? Is they having issues at the wrong time? Because if they do, it's not going to be an omen for good luck. It's going to be a bad thing to deal with in the rest of the week, of course, before the weekend, before the games that they have. They have, of course, a final, the Carabao Cup, and then, of course, they deal with the Champions League in the next mid-week. Of course, their opponents in that final, Tottenham, of course, were also in action yesterday against Southampton. It was the same story, just like the Man City game. Southampton opening the scoring thanks to Danny Ings inside half an hour, and then, of course, Tottenham turning things around thanks to a goal from Gareth Bale and a penalty from Heung-min Son late on in the game. In the 90th minute, they needed a goal to get the 3 points out of this game. The first game under Ryan Mason, and indeed they played some attacking football, which was quite the change from what was mostly a boring side under Jose Mourinho, playing defensive football. 61% possession. I mean, they need to work on their finishing because, from 12 shots, you score only 2. They need to be more clinical, I think, in the next couple of games, of course, if they want to have any chance of getting into a top 4 position. Of course, 53 points at 6th. They are at the moment, they're pretty close. They could keep up with, West Ham and Chelsea at the top if they manage to keep this streak going on and to end the season on a winning streak. They might just sneak into a top 4 or 5 position. And of course, looking ahead to their cup final, I mean, it's going to be a hard job and hard mission for Ryan Mason, who pretty young. I mean, he's the youngest manager of the history of managers, 29 years old, taking charge of the senior team at Tottenham, of course. But I'm sure his experience under Mourinho might give him a little bit of advice, a little bit of experience notes to try and take ahead of the Carabao Cup final, of course, on Sunday. The Premier League carries on, of course. On Thursday, it is Leicester City, the FA Cup finalists, against West Bromwich Albion. From the Premier League, going on now to La Liga, and we're talking, of course, about the biggest game, of course, of them all, is Real Madrid very comfortable victory against Cadiz 3-0 with a pretty much a depleted squad. No Casemiro, no Cruz, no Modric really for injuries, while no Valverde for injury. Lucas Vazquez already absent, Varane returning from COVID, and Ramos still missing. Defeating Cadiz 3-0. It was a really good result, a very comfortable one. It was a problematic game for a while, for the first half an hour or so, but once Benzema scored the first goal, and then the quick goals came, Alvaro Durazola scoring in the 33rd minute, and Karim Benzema scoring again, a brace for him on the night, 40 minutes in. There was no problems in the house for Real Madrid on the night, and now they're throwing the ball into Atletico Madrid's court, of course, and into Barcelona, giving them the pressure ahead of their next couple of games, of course. On the same day where Florentino Perez, their president, came out in El Alguero and said pretty much, we don't have any problem, the Super League is going on, it's just on stand by. The teams that are going to be in it should be paying a huge sum of money for me because of the contract, and I'm not going to be signing the likes of Holland and Mbappe without the Super League and all of that. And he went on the same amount of gibberish that he said on Chiringuito, pretty much said the same stuff. And I really like to salute him for his shamelessness, if that's a correct thing. He's shameless. He's absolutely shameless. He goes out on TV, goes on media, and said the Super League is on, despite 11 clubs pulling out. Literally, only him with Real Madrid and Barcelona are left in this. And I think rightfully so, because they're the most in debt clubs out of the 12, so that's why they want to save themselves probably. And Florentino Perez tried and make it and paint it as somewhat of saving football, but it is not really. Said that people from 16 and 24 year old are not interested in football. La Liga came out with the reports and statistics proving the absolute opposite. So he needs to step down, I think, from the presidency of Real Madrid. If he has any respect to himself, he should, because as long as he is there, he's going to keep pushing for that project, and the fans are going to keep rejecting him. And these are things that are not forgettable easily. These are things that stay in the memory of football fans. So hopefully for him, he would get over this and just leave things alone. You already have a Champions League new format that is already bad as it is. So please do not make things worse by just trying to rage on about the Super League and trying to keep the project alive, really. Please, just stop it already and go away. Elsewhere in La Liga, of course, Levante lost to Sevilla 1-0. Sevilla keep chasing, I think. The 67 points, of course, behind Atletico Madrid and Real Madrid, but the problem is that Barcelona are still having their 2 games in hand. They're still going to be playing Granada and Getafe, so if they won those 6 points, they will be improving their position at the top. They will be probably top of the table if they won both of these games, with Atletico maybe dropping the result, dropping the points here and there before the end of the season. So it's going to be interesting to see this La Liga title race playing out now, with Real Madrid, I think, hitting the first shot, I would say, against Cadiz, and the ball now is in Atletico and Barca's court. We see what Atletico Madrid is going to be doing. I'm assuming they're going to be victorious against Huesca, and we'll see Barcelona going to be playing out against Getafe, and assuming that will be a win for them as well. It's a really tight race, a really enjoyable race, and if Sevilla manage to sneak in somehow and make it a 4-horse race, goodness me, that's going to be incredible. And of course, as I mentioned, round 35 is the potential date where we could get a true decider of where this title race is going, with Atletico Madrid facing Barcelona away from home at Camp Nou, and Real Madrid hosting Sevilla in the Alfredo Di Stefano at Valdebebas. Of course, the La Liga continues today, as I mentioned, with Atletico Madrid, Huesca, Eibar facing Granada, Real Sociedad, Celta Vigo, and Barcelona facing Getafe. From a league where the title race is tight and very close to a league that, the title race is not that tight, it's not that close. It's pretty done and dusted yesterday. Of course, Bayern, I think, officially were crowned the champions of the Bundesliga for the 9th time in a row. Of course, after defeating Bayer Leverkusen and Leipzig losing, but there's a battle that's still brewing on and still raging on in the Bundesliga, is the top 4. There's still some hope For some sides, of course, mainly Borussia Dortmund had defeated Union Berlin 2-0. It was, it was a game where they were the better side and rightfully so deserved to win, but it was a pretty rough win. In the end, they scored early thanks to Marco Reus in the 27th minute after Haaland missed a penalty. That continues his goal drought. By the way, he's, mini goal drought, like he's getting really longer at the moment. It feels like at least 6 or 7 games where he didn't score, so that is quite a big drought for someone who is touted as the next big thing, or the next Cristiano, the next Messi of football. That is quite the goal drought from Erling Braut Haaland. 6 games now, I think, in the Bundesliga where he didn't score. Rafael Guerreiro made it 2-0 in the 88th minute to snatch the 3 points and to seal the 3 points for Borussia Dortmund. Now 4 behind Eintracht Frankfurt, of course, and 5 ahead of Bayer Leverkusen at the 5th position. Of course, they could still fight for the top 4. They still have a slim chance of getting into the Champions League next season. It will all depend, on the games that they're going to be having. And again, as we mentioned yesterday, the run that they have the next couple of games until the end of the season, it sees them clashing with Leipzig, Wolfsburg, and Leverkusen, including, those among the top 4, so pretty heavy clashes for the rest of the season. They need to be victorious in all of them if they want to keep that top 4 position and take the rightful position into the Champions League next season. They need to win all of those games. As tough of a job and as tough of a mission as it sounds for Borussia Dortmund under Edin Terzic now, they need to win all of those games. There's no substitute for that. There's no other choice for them other than simply winning the next couple of games that they have in the league. Wolfsburg, another team involved in this top 4, defeated Stuttgart 3-1 to stamp their authority over the 3rd place with 57 points. It was a pretty tough game as well for Wolfsburg, but they managed to seal it in the 65th minute after Yannick Gerhardt scored the 3rd, with Xavi Schlager scoring the 1st and Van Gogst making it 2-0 for Wolfsburg. The only goal for Stuttgart was Gonzalo Castro in the 91st minute as a consolation. Hoffenheim turned things around against Borussia Mönchengladbach. They beat them 3-2. They were 2-0 down in the first half after Alessandro Plea and Valentino Lazaro scoring twice in the first half, and then Kramaric, Elas Bebu, and Kramaric with brace and Elas Bebu scoring 3 goals in the space of 20 minutes in the second half to make it 3-2 for Hoffenheim, and giving Borussia Mönchengladbach a reason to rate their season awful and horrific at the moment. It's another loss for Borussia Mönchengladbach, another bad result. It is not going to stand well with any side. Although they had a little bit of a flurry, they had a little bit of a sort of good streak leading on to this game. 3 wins and a draw in the last 4. But eventually now they're dropping points once more, and any chance they had on having any European sort of ambitions for the Europa League next season or the Champions League might have gone in the dust, really. 4 points behind Leverkusen, and I don't really see them recovering that in the long run. Borussia Mönchengladbach, in what's left of the season at the moment, they face Arminia Bielefeld and they face Bayern Munich, so those are not easy games to play in any time soon. And of course, lastly, in the Bundesliga yesterday, Werder Bremen faced FC Mainz for 0-5 and lost 1-0. Hertha Berlin versus Freiburg. The game was postponed, of course, because of an outbreak of COVID at Hertha Berlin, and that is going to be postponing the 3 next games for them. This one, the game against Schalke, of course, and the game, against Arminia Bielefeld as well. The Bundesliga, of course, the next round of the Bundesliga, Augsburg host Cologne, Union Berlin host Werder Bremen, Mainz host Bayern Munich, Schalke host Hertha, but as you mentioned, the game is cancelled, Freiburg hosting Hoffenheim, Wolfsburg hosting Borussia Dortmund, Bayer Leverkusen host Eintracht Frankfurt, Leipzig, Stuttgart, and Borussia Mönchengladbach, Arminia Bielefeld over the course of the weekend. Rounding up and to Italy now, round 32 of the Serie A took place yesterday, and of course after Hellas Verona lost to Fiorentina on Tuesday, on Wednesday it was 7 games taking place. Milan lost to Sassuolo 2-1, another unconvincing performance from AC Milan, who are really gradually going down in this season. I mean, They started by being top of the league, dreaming about winning the Serie A, and then they dropped in level behind Inter Milan. And for a while, we were asking, are they going to be recovering? Is there any chance that they recover and that they keep running behind Inter Milan in the Serie A? And by the time, as the fixtures going by, AC Milan dropped in level drastically, so they couldn't really chase Inter for the title. And now we're asking the question, are they truly a Champions League material? Are they going to get into the Champions League? Because that is a question. Are they going to get into the Champions League next season? Are they going to be returning to there? It's a big question at the moment, and these results certainly put it in jeopardy now. I mean, looking at the results that Inter had in the last couple of games, AC Milan should have easily, they should have certainly easily picked up 6 points and just, went on with their lives. I mean, Inter drawn a couple of games, we're going to get to them in a bit. They've drawn a couple of games, but, definitely AC Milan could have picked 6 points and could have been on their laurels, really, and tried to reduce the gap as much as they can and take advantage of those sparse results on the day. I mean, things could have been different. It could have been, 7 points for Milan behind Inter Milan, and we could see something maybe of a little bit of a comeback maybe, and trying to wait for another slip from the Nerazzurri or something like that. But with Milan shooting themselves in the foot like that, it won't happen. They were not the better side even in this game. By the way, I thought that Sassuolo were the better side overall. Particularly after Milan's goal, they were the better side. They took control of the game and scored twice thanks to substitute Giacomo Raspadori inside 7 minutes of each other. 2 goals for him on the day, making it 2-1 for Sassuolo, giving them 3 points. Not really important 3 points, but they're really good season they have. Is Sassuolo at the moment 8th in the league with 49 points. Bologna drawn against Torino, 1-1 after the victory for Torino against Roma. We thought things might be good again. They drop points once more against Bologna. It's they still involved in the relegation battle. It's still a pretty big deal because Cagliari, I think, are the only ones who can save themselves at the moment from relegation. Parma and Crotone are really hopeless. Speaking of Crotone, they lose against Sampdoria 1-0 away at home. Of course, the goal coming in from Fabio Collarella in the 53rd minute. Genoa drawn against Benevento 2-2. Pretty insane first 21st minute in those games. In 20 minutes, 4 goals, 2 from each side, and it ends in a draw 2-2 in game that Genoa dominated, but Benevento got a point off, and they continue their sort of decent season in the Serie A. And if they keep themselves up in the Serie A, it's going to be a great season for them. Juventus in Turin managed to defeat Parma 3-1, and after a loss against Atalanta, I think this is the only way that they should have been bouncing back. But they need to thank their defenders. They need to thank, Alexandro, the left back. They need to thank Matthias de Ligt, their centre half, and they need to thank their right back in Quadrado, or mostly the right back this season. In Quadrado, providing 2 assists for Matthias de Ligt and Alexandro, and Matthias de Ligt himself providing an assist for Sandro's equaliser after Gaston Bergman scored the opener for Parma. And it looked like this might be another nervy game for Juventus for around 20 minutes or so, but then they took control, of course, and they scored 3 goals to send themselves third momentarily before the games of Thursday, of course, between Roman Atalanta and Napoli versus Lazio. In Spezia, they forced the champions. We can say champions at the moment, I think, 10 points ahead. We could say that champions. Forced the champions into a draw. They scored first thanks to Diego Farias, but Ivan Perisic scored the 39th minute. Inter Milan, despite dominating the whole game, it was a terrific defensive performance from Spezia. They had 1 shot on target, which was the goal. 1 shot for the whole game, really, not just on target. They never had a chance. No offsides. Nothing of sorts. They're really provided a defensive performance for the ages against Inter Milan, and they kept their sort of net shot after the equaliser. And if Perisic didn't score that goal, probably Inter Milan would have never scored in the game from the looks of it. And they hold the champions to an important draw for them, of course, at the table, 33 points, and they need every point, I think, to keep themselves up in the Serie A as well. As far as Inter are concerned, I mean, a couple of results that may be suggesting that there are problems in the club, but I don't think they'll be that much worried with 6 games to go. Of course, the end of the season is imminent, and I think the trophy is theirs. There's no real worries about it. And of course, lastly, Udinese lost to Cagliari at home 1-0. The goal coming on from João Pedro from the penalty spot. That leaves us, of course, with 2 games in Serie A on Sunday, with at Roma facing Atalanta, Napoli facing Lazio, of course, and those games are really, really important when it comes to the top 4 spots in Serie A. That's it from me for this episode. I was your boy, the HD of the PSP. Like, share, comment on the YouTube version of this, and subscribe to the YouTube channel. Enable notifications to receive all the updates from these episodes of the podcast, which you can listen to on Spotify, Google Podcasts, or any other platform. And of course, follow us on social media site, PSP on Twitter, PitchSidePod on Instagram. And until next time, I'll be seeing you soon. Goodbye.